afternoon, everyone. If you're enjoying the NEST Summit, we have a very special panel that are joining me now. And first, I want to talk a little bit about how advancing climate action will require us to live and think differently, making deliberate choices in all areas of life. Joining me on stage now are representatives from 3 companies who are actively working to engage consumers with services and solutions that will contribute to more sustainable living and a cleaner future for our planet. First, I'd like to introduce from Ecologi, President Derek Mauk. From Inspire Clean Energy, Senior Vice President of Brand, Suzanne Seymour. And from Veris Residential, Chief Operating Officer, Anna Malhari. Thank you all so much for being here. I was wondering if we could each start off with you sharing a little bit about the work that you're doing in the sustainability space. Anna?
Sure, so good afternoon, everyone. It's Anna Malhari, as Moni said, from Veris Residential. Veris is a forward-looking, environmentally and socially conscious REIT. We operate and develop Class A multifamily properties, and sustainability is really at the core of what we do as a company. We centrally our mission around properties, people, and the planet. And there's quite a few things that we're doing on that area that we're going to be talking about today. One of those being hydroponics vegetable plants that you can see behind me in just a minute. And it really responds to our residents' need to live more sustainable lifestyles and giving them the tools to do so and the amenities. The other thing we're always looking to do is to advance technology solutions on the sustainability field. And to that end, we've introduced at some of our properties hydro panels that produce drinking water literally from air. It's a net zero solution, it's absolutely clean water, and our residents love to have that by their decks and in their gyms.
That's fascinating, really, really interesting. All right, Derek.
So Ecologi is a climate impact marketplace. And what does that mean? Ecologi is a brand built on, if we could click to the next one, is a brand built on collective action. Ecologi was originally built on the principle that if we just offset the equivalent of a price of a cup of coffee, collectively, we could each make a huge impact. The island that we're sitting on has nearly 4 million people on it at any given time in Manhattan. And if each person on Manhattan Island today chose to make an impact equivalent to this cup of coffee, we would make a huge step forward in climate action. At Ecologi, we offer a range of solutions to make that impact. If you're representing a workforce or an organization, as Anna is, for instance, you could be a climate positive workforce through Ecologi, offsetting each employee's carbon footprint. We have tree planting and offset APIs so that you as an individual can choose to plant trees and you as an organization can choose to plant trees and see the impact you're making at scale and literally digitally click into each position of impact that you're making through each impact choice you make. You can gift that to like-minded individuals. And last, we have climate impact subscriptions. Those climate impact subscriptions create the opportunity for individuals and businesses and families alike to make an impact over time, whether it's starting at the equivalent of a cup of coffee each day or more. And again, that's showcased at the individual level and at the organizational level in a really fun and dynamic piece of software that allows you to understand the impact around the world and in the United States, which we're excited to launch coinciding with Climate Week, officially launch our presence and our incorporation in the US. And together, that collective action has really made a dent. We've planted 50 million trees worldwide as of the end of this month and sequestered over 2 million tons of CO2. And we're just getting started.
That's fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. And Suzanne?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here today to talk about our company. So we are a certified B Corporation, and we are very much on a mission to transform the way consumers access clean energy for their homes. And so that means clean energy from sources like wind and solar. And the reason why the home is so central to our mission is because our company was founded on the insight that one of the biggest contributors to climate change are the carbon emissions associated with home energy use. And so what we really want to do is provide consumers with a solution to mitigate that negative impact that it's having on the planet. And so we provide a range of 100% clean energy plans to consumers. Some of those, and one of our biggest differentiators is our unlimited 100% clean energy subscription plan, where a consumer can sign up with us. It only takes a few minutes. They pay a flat monthly rate, and the way in which it works is we start to match the traditional energy that powers everything from their laptops to their appliances with clean renewable energy. And when that happens, we are helping consumers reduce the carbon emissions associated with their home energy use. We're also enabling them to be part of the clean energy transition. So they're helping to support the increased demand of renewable energy generation with the ultimate goal for us to decarbonize the power grid.
Well, Suzanne, I do have a follow-up question for you on that. What do you see as the biggest challenge, though, that your brand faces in helping consumers take action?
Yeah, so I think it's a very simple question, but with a somewhat complex answer. Really, all of our challenges, our barriers that we face right now boil down to awareness. And that awareness challenge is really multifaceted. So at a category level, for those of you that are maybe less familiar with kind of the energy markets, we have in this country deregulated energy states and regulated energy states. And in deregulated energy markets, consumers have the ability to choose who their energy provider is. And we think that's really important because a modern economy should run on consumer choice. You have the choice of who your mobile provider is. You should also have the choice of something as fundamental as what powers your lives. But unfortunately, even in those states where you have that choice as a consumer, only about 36% of consumers even know or are aware of the fact that they have that choice. So when we think about what we're trying to do as a brand, we're not only trying to build brand awareness, but we're trying to create an entire category. And so what we need to do, and the remit really for my team, is to accelerate that awareness, but also make sure that consumers are educated about the value of that choice. And that comes in two forms. One is in making sure that they have the right energy plans available for them that can really meet the needs of their lives, their homes, their budgets. Right now, in our country, because of the volatile energy market, we have millions of consumers who are unable to pay their energy bills. And so with our subscription plan, where you're paying a flat monthly price for unlimited clean energy, there's a lot of peace of mind that's built into that. That's something that consumers don't have to then worry about. And then the second part of what we offer is impact. You know, signing up for something like clean energy for your home, it takes just a few minutes, but it has a monumental impact. And so impact, I would say, is the other awareness challenge. There are a lot of consumers that believe that recycling is the number one thing that you can do for the environment. In fact, this summer, Sustainable Brands released a research study that said the overwhelming majority of consumers believe that the number one thing that you can do for the environment is recycling, when it's actually the 60th. And so there's a lot of education there, and that's because, you know, recycling, there's high awareness, it's habitual, it's something we've been doing since we were kids. But in reality, 1 year of being an Inspire member can have the same impact as 7 years of recycling. And so we're not saying don't recycle. We want you to do all of the important solutions that will help the planet. But our job is to really make sure that consumers are aware of the new and emerging options that are available for them to really make a big impact on the planet.
That's interesting, and it's also an interesting way to approach it by giving that example of comparing it to recycling. I think that's something that people can relate to. And Derek and Anna, do you have any challenges that you'd like to share to get consumers?
Sure, and I'll partially echo what Suzanne was saying. We have roughly 2/3 of our residents are millennials. Majority of them would identify themselves as sustainably conscious, but researchers, around 1/3 of them are actually sustainably overwhelmed, which means that they would like to do the right thing, but they don't know where to start. They don't know if they have the right tools. They just want to help, but don't know how. And this is in particular important for us in the multifamily segment, because in rented accommodation, unlike if you own your own home, you don't get to make all the choices about where you live. The systems are in place, the surroundings are already equipped. So what we're trying to really do is to give our residents the tools to make more sustainable choices through the offering we're doing. But I fully agree with Suzanne that education and explaining how every little thing can make a big impact, even things like turning off a TV in a common area when you're not using it, or little day-to-day things can add up to something that will cumulatively help us achieve all of our goals.
That's fascinating, Derek.
Yeah, at Ecologi, we were on an interesting learning curve, and it's a business born through very sharp, well-intentioned people in the UK. And as we're translating that business model globally and expanding globally, we encounter different perceptions of climate impact. And one of those in the US is it's often, too often, I would argue, misperceived as a political statement. It's not. It's a progress statement. So we talk a lot with our customers, our constituents, our own employees, our friends, families, you name it, forums like this one, that it's about progress, not perfect, progress, not politics. All of us who have children, I have two, care about their futures. No matter where you choose to vote, when you choose to vote, who you choose to vote for. It's not a political statement, it's a choice for taking a step forward. And that's part of the education journey on climate impact that becomes really important, because it's too often viewed as this divisive choice, and it's not. It's a choice to step forward together.
That's really great. You're really flipping the script on that and getting the education out there. That's wonderful. Anna, let's talk about the future. What is an initiative or project that you're working on with your company over the next 12 months?
Sure, and there's quite a lot of them, but at the corporate level, we've committed to reducing our carbon footprint by 50% by 2030, and we've actually made a lot of progress already. Even between 19 and 21, our carbon emissions are down by 36%, which we're very proud of, and it's thanks to all the hard work of our teams and also a really large variety of initiatives. I spoke earlier about the hydroponics farm, and that really came about just by reusing an empty retail space that we had zero use for, putting these vertical plants in there and growing lettuce and herbs similar to the garden here on the rooftop. And we offered it to our residents free of charge. They can come down on a weekly basis and harvest with the team, join in, share recipes. And that has a large impact because not only are they eating healthier food, but they're also building communities within their buildings. They're learning about the environment. Another important part is electricity, energy consumption, which Suzanne spoke about a lot, and we feel like technology has a huge part to play here. We've been installing a lot of smart meters across all of our buildings in common areas, as well as in units. And in New York, we went a step further, and our residents here have an app-based solution which allows them to not only really measure their daily carbon footprint, but educates them about the impact of their decisions. So it would say things like, don't wash your dishes in the dishwasher now, do it in 3 hours when energy is cheaper and the demand on the grid is lower. And by changing those behaviors, they not only save carbon, contribute to positive climate change, but also get cash back. So it's directly linked to their utility prices, they get money back, and it's been very successful for us to see that behavioral change that then again feeds back to our strategic goals as a company.
That's great. Suzanne, what about your ambitions for the next 12 months?
And I would say most of the big initiatives that we have over the next year or 6 months even, are really through the lens of accelerating awareness of our mission and accelerating clean energy access. And so the first, I would say, is investing our focus on creative and on disruptive activations that will really capture the thoughts and minds of consumers. I come from a beauty and apparel background, and one of the things, and my whole team, actually, none of us come from energy, and that's all by design. We do not want to behave like an energy brand. We want to be bringing creative, we want to be bringing content to consumers that creates an emotive connection with them. I can't think of anything less emotive than electricity. And so how do we take something that ordinarily people don't even think about until it's time to pay their bill and create that connectivity with the consumer and do it in a way that really kind of captures and pulls at their heartstrings. And so a lot of our content is very bold. We use kind of a sort of unexpected color palette. We combine that with really emotive photography. So I would say that on the content side. I'd also say we're really interested in leveraging the voices of our consumers. We have a very engaged, loyal member base that is mission aligned with our company, and we want to use their kind of third-party advocacy to tell people about the brand. I mean, from a marketing perspective, I can't think of anything that is more effective than word of mouth. And so that's a big part of our strategy, as well as thinking about how we can increase our investment in localized renewable energies so that we're helping to decarbonize the power grids in the local communities in which we serve. And last but not least, we have a social impact platform that's really important to our brand. It's called the Brighter World Project. And through it, we provide clean energy solutions to the developing world. So we all know that some of the communities around the world that have contributed the very least to climate change are experiencing the brunt of its effects. And so we're bringing clean energy solutions to those communities that they need for survival. We're doing it in partnership with an incredible non-for-profit by the name of Give Power. And so we've been doing that abroad, we've been doing that globally, and in the next 12 months, we're planning on bringing that to the US so we can support communities right here in our backyard.
That's great. So what's ahead for Ecologi, Derek?
Good question. So as I mentioned, we're on a perpetual learning journey as enablers of impact, which is how we ultimately view ourselves. And part of it is, what impact do you need to make? So our founders started out wanting to democratize impact, like I mentioned, with the cup of coffee and beyond equivalent investment for each individual and for organizations alike. What we've learned along the way is that people first need to understand how to quantify the impact that should be made. And so we're pilot testing now and rolling out shortly a new opportunity called Ecologi Zero to understand what it would take for you as an individual and you as an organization to reach a net zero future. And then, so we'll do the calculate piece and partner with some of the best organizations in the world, which we'll reveal in due time, to ensure that that calculation is as accurate and as science-based as possible, and then we'll empower the impact through our marketplace solutions. So that's the biggest thing on the horizon in the next 12 months for Ecologi.
Really fascinating, and as a follow-up, I'd love for you to elaborate even more on how you plan to scale and measure this impact, because your brand has a lot of different components. That was a great slide presentation. Can you share a little bit more how that's going to break down?
Sure. So scaling impact is awareness first. You have to be aware before you choose to make an impact. Part of it is awareness and education that we can each make an impact, that it doesn't have to be a political statement, that it can be a statement for progress and a step forward, right? And so there's the understanding of we can each make the impact. We scale our impact through making it a very seamless solution. So you could go on and before this panel concludes, we could all go on in the audience and choose to subscribe to make a perpetual impact on Ecologi. It's not at all a shameless plug, but it is a seamless transaction to choose to make that first step. That's the scale side. The measurement side, it depends a lot on our solutions. So for tree planting, we're funding, as I mentioned, about 50 million trees as of this month. We've funded tree planting worldwide. We're auditing that through invoice tracking and third-party tracking, through drone audits to ensure actual implementation, and so on. On the carbon offset piece, we've just announced a partnership with Silvera to ensure the highest standards for our customers in the offset space.
Oh, that's all really interesting. And I'm also wondering, now that we're here at the Nest Summit, we're talking about solutions, and we're all here for New York's Climate Week. Why was it important for you, Anna, to participate in New York Climate Week?
So I think it goes to partially what Derek was saying, that to build scale and to increase the impact of what we're all doing, we can't do it on our own. If we think about climate change and combating that, I don't think about it as, it's not a race. It's not like there's a winner and Veris will get a medal for getting there first. It will not be enough, frankly speaking. So what we need is to work with our other stakeholders, in our case, primarily with our residents, to encourage them to take action and to take the step further, to partner with Suzanne's organization and with Ecologi and others, and do their part and with our suppliers, et cetera. And then on top of that, measure all of that so we can speak about the progress we're making and showcase that all the work we're putting into this pays off and it has tangible benefits, which I think is very important, in particular for us on the corporate side, so that we can showcase that to our investors and others to see that there is a reason to do this and to do good.
Really interesting. And Suzanne, I know you've been very busy with New York City Climate Week, doing lots of events, and we're so happy you're here at the Nest Summit. Can you share why you decided to be involved in New York Climate Week?
It's really a similar answer to Anna. I mean, I think just being part of this important conversation that's happening around Climate Week is an honor. I mean, we're really humbled just to be here. But I would also say it's to just meet, other brands, all of our brands that have this kind of shared ethos coming together, working together to really amplify our impact. And so, meeting other like-minded representatives of those brands to see how we can forge new solutions together to really pave the way for that is really the main reason why we wanted to be here.
And Derek?
Yeah, I would echo similar thoughts. I think I shared with the panelists privately, we're forming an advisory network because we believe in the power of that collective action, and that collective action includes the collective wisdom. And what have we all learned through that learning journey on how we're making that impact, and how can we be better together? And it is rare to find a forum like New York Climate Week where those thought leaders and those people who are willing to share vulnerably what they've tried and hasn't been so successful and how they're pivoting and learning from that. To get a group of those folks together is a unique opportunity and one that we wouldn't miss.
And kind of to wrap up, as we talk about the brand and connecting with your customers, is there any, you have an opportunity now, people meeting you for the first time, that any kind of messaging that you'd like to share of a way that would be beneficial to you, perhaps to get more feedback from customers or to share with them about your brand? Anna?
So I think it's just important to start small, and I think that would be the key message I would have for everyone. Like if you're thinking like, oh, this is complicated, I'd like to do something, but I don't know what, like start small, subscribe to Ecologi or do something else, do more recycling, just take a small action and build up from there. As I think Suzanne mentioned, none of us sitting on this stage started our careers in sustainability or energy. We have very varied backgrounds, and to be fair, so do most people that are probably in the room, but we're all interested in the problem. We want to do more, and just take a first step, take action, and together we can make a real progress.
Great advice. Suzanne, that's really interesting. So what would you say in terms of, you were saying the challenges earlier as we started this panel, reaching out to customers. What would be beneficial in terms of messaging now with your brand? And you might have all these new customers here.
I hope so. What we try and keep our eyes on in terms of how we message and how we talk to consumers is to do so in a way that's really direct and really simple and really transparent. I do think, and I might have mentioned this earlier, that a lot of the conversations around climate can get very academic very quickly, and that can isolate the average consumer and make them, first of all, it's a scary topic for many, obviously. There's this whole thing around paralysis, and I think that becomes even worse when you feel like being involved and taking action is something that's only for this kind of elite group of people. I think Derek was kind of alluding to this as well. And so for us, we really want to make sure that our content, our messaging is super accessible, that really demystifies this space so that we can open the door and people can take that first step into adopting more climate positive solutions.
That's great. And Derek, you had some really, I'd say, catchy slogans about progress and everything. So you're already on that path, but I'd love for you to elaborate on that more.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you thinking that they're slogans. They're more, it's honestly, it's what I try to remind myself of as someone who's also newer to the climate impact space, and it's what I try to talk with customers about. And what I find is, my background is working with major household brands and consumer goods, and we found a way to step beyond politics and make progress. and do that in a way that was unifying, not divisive. And as Justin Jarman, who's our head of business development in the US, in the audience, and I are talking with more prospective customers and partners, we view ourselves as effectively consultants and storytellers on loan on behalf of Ecologi. And what does that mean? It means we can talk with businesses that want to make progress but don't want to alienate a customer base and try to jointly problem solve. And again, it's going to take all of us to make this impact. We're a B Corp. We're a B Corp proudly, so we're very transparent, try to be very judicious with dollars. So we don't want to sell to somebody just for the sake of making a sale and having a new customer. We want to help build their business very genuinely, and that's why we're choosing with our actions to be a part of Ecologi. And so if that's one thing I can get across, I think I speak for all the panelists, that's why we're choosing to do it. That's why we individually are putting our reputations out there, if you will, to be at things like this, because we need to make progress together. We will not make all the perfect choices, but choosing to do so openly and together in a way that's unifying and brings people in, it's not elite, it's not political, is critical. And I appreciate the plug for Ecologi on subscribing.
Yeah.
It is a place to start, whether it's with Ecologi or somewhere else. I would challenge all of us, and I will take the challenge myself, do one more thing. If we all just did one more thing to make a positive climate impact together, whether it's with any of the businesses represented here or otherwise, we would leave the summit and the world a better place at the end of the summit.
Very well said, and it's been fascinating to watch the exchange between the three of you and how you share so many views, even though you work in different areas, but there's a lot of similarities that you share. And I thank all three of you for joining me on this panel at the Nest Summit. Please give them a round of applause.